Right now on Movie Review Talk, Ben Foster goes off the grid. Elvis Presley's car takes a road trip, plus Sicario 2 back in action. Hey there, movie fans. Welcome to Movie Review Talk, only on Collider. I'm your host, Scott Movie Mantz. Every week on Movie Review Talk, we review the new movies. We pick a Blu-ray for something you might have missed, and we also pick a gem, what to stream, a diamond in the rough, a great movie that is hiding in plain sight and right at your fingertips. And great news, this is a spoiler-free show, so watch to your heart's content. Every week, I'm joined by two guest critics, and today I have the dream team. The dream team, please welcome the lovely, the talented. She is the senior editor of Rotten Tomatoes. She is also my very good friend, Grae Drake.
Yay!
Yay!
Oh my God.
And, ladies and gentlemen, he is a man, a critic, a legend who needs no introduction, but I will introduce him anyway. He is Leonard Maltin. When I was growing up in Philadelphia watching Entertainment Tonight, I would watch your reviews and I'd say, that's a good job.
And you know what? You were right.
Yes!
You were right. Sometimes people say to me, you got the best job in the world. And I used to, in the early days of getting recognized from E.T., I used to give sort of a longish answer. Well, yeah, it's a great job, but you have to see a lot of bad movies too. And I would see their faces fall.
No, you stop saying that.
If you get paid to go see movies, you have the best job in the world.
You have the best job, and we have the best job today because we're going to get right to it. Our first movie is Leave No Trace, written and directed by Debra Granik. She wrote and directed Winter's Bone, which made a star out of Jennifer Lawrence. The cast includes Ben Foster, Thomasin, McKenzie. It's about a war veteran and his 13-year-old daughter who live off the grid in the wilderness right outside of Portland, Oregon. But when they are discovered, they have to re-enter civilization, and it is a lot harder than you might think. Grae Drake, what did you think of Leave No Trace?
This movie snuck up on me and gut punched me and made me sob. It made me think about so many different things. It is absolutely spectacular. Spectacular movie.
It's a great movie. It's a great movie. You didn't mention her other earlier movie, which I like too, called Down to the Bone.
Right.
Down to the Bone.
Which brought us Vera Farmiga.
Yeah.
Wonderful actress, talented
And
actress.
how odd, also, not for nothing,
This
that
whole
she's
bone thing. Right?
Yeah, 2 movies with the word bone in the title.
Yeah,
It's like,
I don't
that's
know.
unusual.
I guess it could have been Leave No Bone. But,
Yeah, right.
Leave No Trace sounds a lot better. But you know, the thing about this movie is it's just sort of like, you're right, the way it sneaks up on you. There's a restraint to it.
Yep.
There is
Yeah.
an intimacy to it.
Yes, but no shortage of emotion. I mean, you really are swept up in this. It's a heartbreaking story because it's about a father who is a veteran who's obviously had
Issues.
He's been
issues.
through some stuff.
Yeah, he sure
aftershocks,
has.
you might say.
Yeah.
And all he really cares about now is protecting his adolescent daughter. That's the one thing that really matters to him.
Yep, and this guy's just doing the best that he can, and he's so challenged by his PTSD and what he's gone through, and I'm sure that this was an intention of the movie, but even though they don't go through it in a very heavy-handed way, I thought, my God, we really aren't doing anything for our veterans.
Right.
And people have to live in a park because they can't reintegrate into society, and they've got families, they've got responsibility. And the segment of the movie where social services picks them up and forces them to live in the way that society wants them to was so deeply painful to watch.
It was, because he's just not comfortable in that skin
And
at
yet
all.
it doesn't seem like a message movie.
Right.
You know, it doesn't seem like they're trying to beat you over the head with some sort of agenda. It just naturally arises from the story, and the story seems completely organic and suits these two characters.
That's interesting because this is a film that has some, but not a lot, of similarities with the movie that came out the previous year, Captain Fantastic.
That's right.
With Viggo Mortensen. I mean, that was a completely different kind of movie. There was a sort of like 60s vibe to that.
Yeah, there was a hippie-esque,
Yes.
almost. But I think the only thing they really have in common is that it's two families, one larger than the other here, who are living off the grid. And that's not something you see every day in movies, so that gives it a kind of a link.
Definitely.
But they're both great movies.
They're both great movies. And Debra Granik, who once again plucks from obscurity to an extent, a rising female talent in Thomasin McKenzie. What a breakthrough performance.
Yep.
She is fantastic.
I just get chills when I think about what she accomplishes in this movie, because Ben Foster's such a strong performer, and he's such a chameleon, but he's always playing someone who's just not quite right. And she balances him so beautifully and with such kind of calm and confidence for such a young actress. Like, I couldn't stop looking at both of them and how they're interacting.
And
the
Ben
silence.
Foster is so believable. I mean, he just doesn't seem to be performing or acting at all.
It's heartbreaking.
Exactly. He is heartbreaking because he's real. And you know that this guy could in fact exist. And probably does.
Well, the whole scope of the atmosphere of it, the vibe of it. Again, scenes play out. You hold on expressions. Nothing feels rushed. Everything about this movie feels genuine, and yet at the same time, I felt like I was discovering a slice of America that most people aren't really aware of. You know, just that sort of backwoods, people just living day to day, and it really was engrossing and riveting. And again, the word heartbreaking really comes to mind. But I was absolutely blown away by Thomasin McKenzie's performance.
But it's not like taking medicine, folks. This is not one of these films that you ought to see. It's good for you. It's a really good movie. Period. And I despair for the fact that so many people only see what's playing at the multiplex that they saw the billboard and the bus ads for, and the magazine covers and the talk show appearances, and that's not going to happen for a movie like this. But that doesn't mean it's just as good, if not better than, the big trumped-up films that are opening Fridays.
I really found that this summer I haven't been enjoying the blockbusters as much as I thought that I would.
I'm with you on that.
And so these movies are really the antidote for that. And I've been so taken by films like this one, films like The Gardener, which is just about a garden. And I've been rediscovering smaller movies, and it's really been feeding me in a different way. And that's what I'm absolutely focused on at this point. Because now, when I'm like, oh, I don't know what Leave No Trace is, I'm like, I have to see it then.
I'm so glad you saw it, my friend.
God,
yes.
me too.
Okay, so letter grade. What's your letter grade for Leave No Trace?
A. Absolutely.
Right? A for me too. This is, and I completely agree. For everyone who is just going to the movies to see like Avengers and Deadpool and Solo. Well, maybe not Solo, but you know what I mean. Just the blockbusters. Here's a film that stands above the rest because it is just such a superb film. The direction, the writing, the performances, the atmosphere, the setting, all of it. Leave No Trace is an A. And
currently 100% with about 35 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's amazing.
Amazing distinction, and I hope that it stays there.
Yes. The only other movie this year I think that got 100% was...
it's like Paddington 2.
Paddington 2?
Which is also amazing.
Two of the best movies of the year.
But it deserved it. It absolutely deserved it.
Bet.
Okay, we are moving on. And back in 2015, there was a movie called Sicario, directed by Denis Villeneuve, written by Taylor Sheridan. Movie didn't do that great at the box office. Like, I think it was like less than 50 million. But it was one of the best movies of 2015. Emily Blunt, Josh Brolin, Benicio Del Toro. Well, the movie did really well in home entertainment, streaming, Blu-ray. So they did make a sequel. This one is called Sicario, Day of the Soldado. This movie is directed by Stefano Sollima. Josh Brolin and Benicio Del Toro are back. Emily Blunt is not, but Isabella Moner does join the cast. The drug war between U.S. and Mexico has increased, and now they are trafficking terrorists across the border. And federal agent Matt Graver and the mysterious Alejandro are back to fight the good fight, but it turns out they're also going to fight with each other. Leonard Maltin, what did you think of Sicario, Day of the Soldado?
I was disappointed.
Interesting. Why?
To put it as concisely as possible. Well, Sicario is such a strong movie, the original film, and it was also a showcase for Taylor Sheridan, who wrote Wind River and then directed that, made an impressive directorial debut, and
You know, Hell or High Water.
and exactly Hell or High Water. Just so he's a very strong writer who deals with contemporary issues as a master storyteller, I would call him. This one just misses the boat for me. Josh Brolin's very good. Benicio Del Toro is wonderful in it. He's almost reason enough to see this movie, I would say, but not quite.
Oh, interesting.
I just thought it was just spinning its wheels after a while.
Do you think, before I get to you, do you think that because you just felt the loss of Emily Blunt's vulnerability, that dynamic which she brought to the first movie, felt very much like Silence of the Lambs, Jodie Foster, being a woman in a man's world, that dynamic is not there this time?
No, but I wasn't thinking about that while I was watching this movie. I wasn't thinking about what was missing or who might be missing. I was just trying to get engaged with this, which I did at first. It does grab you right away.
Yeah, it does.
And it held me for quite a while until I got a sense that it wasn't going anywhere.
Okay, great.
So what you've said is it's shined a light on the reason that I really liked the movie. I really liked it, and I was confused, but now I know why.
Why?
It's been such a long time since I saw Sicario, and I only saw it once, and it's so a few years. I pretended this was a whole new movie. This wasn't a sequel. This
Which
doesn't
you can do.
Right, and it doesn't, which I mean, you're counting as a weakness, which I agree with. If you can compartmentalize and forget that Sicario exists, because Sicario, like with Denis Villeneuve, is like so artistic, and Johansson's score, and there were so many notable things about it, and then the presence of Emily Blunt in the story really changed what they were talking about. This movie doesn't have that.
Right.
It doesn't have any of that energy, and so it doesn't make it bad.
Right.
It's still good, but it's an action movie now that happens to be about a timely topic, and I was so into it that it confused me.
See, I'm sort of approaching this movie from both of your points. On one hand, I see what you're saying, and I expected that feeling before I saw the film, because it's not Denis Villeneuve who decided he was going to make a Blade Runner and Arrival instead, which I'm very happy about. Love those movies. You know, yo, Denis. And also, Emily Blunt is just a superb actress. I mean,
Yes, she is.
Amazing.
But I promise you, I wasn't thinking about, like you, I'd only seen it once. And I liked it. It made an impression on me. But it's been 4 years?
3 years.
3 years. And,
It's a lifetime.
3 whole years. For a movie critic, it is a lifetime.
Yeah.
And it's been 3 whole years. A lot of movies under the bridge. A lot of movies I wish would stay under the bridge. And so I went to this one clean slate, truly. And it wasn't that I felt anything missing. It was that I didn't think what they had was that good.
Well, you see, now I went to this film with very low expectations. I know that's, I don't know if that's good to go into a movie with any expectations,
Well, no,
but you can't help it.
It's only human.
It's only human.
It's only human. We all try to go in with no expectations.
But you
sometimes
can't.
you can avoid the
There
hype.
is no try.
Sometimes you
Do
know,
or do not.
Right.
but it does. Sometimes it doesn't work.
Well, I did go in with very low expectations because I felt like, well, this just, I don't want to say it feels like a cash grab because it's not like the first Sicario broke the bank.
No.
But like, why are they making a sequel? I mean, I love the first movie, but it didn't do well, and there's no Emily Blunt. Why bother? Well, it did grab me from the beginning, and it stayed with me because I started to embrace it as a standalone film. Yes, it's a sequel, but not really.
Yeah.
You don't have to see the first movie. It does stand on its own, and it does get better as it goes along. I would say the last 30 minutes of the film have some unexpected and shocking moments. I know you know what I'm talking about,
and
which I went, whoa!
Right.
Yeah.
And so I was completely engaged the entire time, especially because Benicio Del Toro and Isabel, is it Moran, her last
Moran,
name?
and she Moner, Isabella Moner.
Moner, okay.
And she was great. She held her own
Yes,
with
she
those
did.
guys.
Yes, she did.
Really unbelievable. And I wish that her character hadn't been such a treated as almost just such a plot point, but she brought a lot more to it because of her depth, her abilities. I can't wait to see what else she's in. But it was the performances that kept me going through it, and then when the surprises start happening, I was just blown away.
On the
I don't
other
know
hand,
why I liked
on
it
the
so
other hand, Catherine Keener, a great actress, is completely wasted.
So wasted.
That is
Yeah.
just such a perfunctory role as a government
Yeah, she came and went.
agent
Blah.
supervising this black ops assignment that
Right,
they
and
got.
it's like, if you thought that giving us that character in place of Emily Blunt's character was comparable, boo,
Yeah.
you missed
Yeah.
the
And
boat.
Matthew Modine, there's nothing wrong with Matthew Modine's performance. It's very brief, but he plays the Secretary of State, and we pray that we don't have one quite like him, because he is so clueless. He's what sets the whole story. That's not a spoiler. He sets the story in motion by hiring Josh Brolin and by inference, Benicio Del Toro,
Right.
to start this undercover operation to deal with the cartels and the illegal traffic.
Summer of Brolin, man.
Summer Brolin. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Well,
Between
Josh
Deadpool and
Brolin is always
Avengers.
welcome in my book.
It's the SOB.
It's interesting. SOB, Summer Brolin. Watching the first movie, because I went back and watched the first movie again after I saw the second film. The Matt Graver's character in the first film, he's kind of an offbeat guy. I mean, he goes to meetings wearing flip-flops.
Flip-flops,
and
always
he's
with the
wearing,
flip-flops.
he's on a private jet to Mexico and he takes a nap, like he's not worried about anything. But the dynamic between Josh Brolin and Benicio Del Toro in this film, they butt heads a lot more. And the direction that Benicio Del Toro's character, Alejandro, takes, I was not expecting it. And boy, does that ending, I felt like the ending was terrific. It packed a punch. And apparently, Taylor Sheridan is sort of writing these movies, these Sicario films, as a planned trilogy. And the door is left open.
100% see that.
For part
Absolutely.
3.
Yeah.
I just think that the third one will be a mere shadow of the first if it goes in the same direction as this movie did.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know, like it started as one thing and it's kind of morphing as we go. So again, compartmentalization is key with this
Well,
one.
sure. I mean, and how much can you wring an idea dry? I mean, you're squeezing that sponge. And how much is really left there? Not that this subject matter doesn't invite a lot of good story ideas, but this one didn't do it for me.
Yeah, this is like an action take on a very complicated topic.
Yeah.
And this one focuses way more on the action.
And the action is visceral.
And because it's a no spoiler show, I can't describe it, but there is one scene with Benicio Del Toro that is just stunning. A stunning piece of acting and good writing, too.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's something unexpected
Yep.
involving him, excuse me, and a poor farmer. And that's a knockout scene.
Letter grade.
C.
C. Gray.
You know, I'm going to give this one a B+ for sure.
Yep. Yeah, me too. B+.
I don't get it.
Not as fresh as the first, but it still works as a standalone film. B+ it is. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to this movie I saw back at Sundance. It's called The King, and director Eugene Jarecki decides to take Elvis Presley's 1963 Rolls-Royce on a road trip across the country, mostly through the Deep South, using the rise and fall of the king, of Elvis Presley, as a metaphor for the rise and fall of the American dream. Okay, I just thought I was going to go in seeing an Elvis movie, and I love Elvis. I mean, I love the Beatles more, but I do love Elvis. And this is not what I expected at all. What did you think of The King?
Shocked.
Shocked.
I was shocked because going into it, I thought, I don't really care to see another Elvis documentary. I don't really have any attachment to Elvis. I like the songs just fine, and I understand he's an important figure in our history, etc. But I feel like I've already seen that and heard that a million times. So this movie floored me because I was not expecting any of these devices to come into play. And so the Rolls-Royce element of it, which it just seems like a gimmick at the top, I went, oh no.
It works.
This works, and it really brings out a new aspect of this story, and then putting it against the story of where he was from in comparison to how it is now. I went, no, this makes it a whole different topic.
Yeah, how about you?
Well, I think it works for a lot of the running time, but then I found it uneven. He's working real hard to find points of comparison every year, every decade from the 50s. Well, Elvis was born in 1935, but he really covers the 50s on,
Right.
pretty much. And from the Eisenhower era to the Kennedy era to Vietnam, on up to the election of Donald Trump. And
Yes.
he weighs in on that very heavily and makes some assumptions that I think in some case I found easy to accept. Other cases, I'm not sure if he wasn't pushing a little bit too hard.
Well, I agree. It's uneven. I feel like he overreaches at times, but it's an ambitious film.
Yes.
It is sort of an epiphany. I had a lot of epiphanies watching the film in terms of thinking about the way the American dream was more of a myth than a reality for a lot of people, especially in Trump's America right now.
But it turned out to be for Elvis too, which is one of the main points he's making.
Right.
And I haven't seen the HBO documentary on Elvis, the two-parter that they did not long ago. So, but I was so impressed with the research they did. They found audio interviews with Elvis over the years, and found these fantastic quotes that they used, and some television and newsreel type footage as well. In some cases, fresh to my eyes, where you really get a glimpse of an Elvis we don't often see. You see his sense of humor, his self-deprecating sense of humor. You hear him say, "Why did he never tour overseas?" He served in the army overseas, but why did he never tour? He said, "I want to go to Japan. I'd love to go to Europe." And then you find out, so you see him saying that. He wants to do that. It's because the scummy Colonel Parker owed too much gambling money to the powers that be in Vegas. So Elvis kept working Vegas to pay off the Colonel's debts. I didn't know this. This is, for Elvis fans, this may be old news. It was not to me.
Yeah, and I found that I felt the same way about the clips, because I was seeing, especially the difference in Elvis in the 50s versus later.
Yeah.
And just thinking about, man, success. What a double-edged sword.
But also the whole aspect of how Elvis, he was inspired by the black musicians, Hound Dog, which he made a huge hit, and the original version is really great.
This is an argument or a debate that's been going on for 65 years, something like that. Elvis stole, Black America's music. Well, he didn't really steal it. He covered it, and it was easier to sell to the vast majority of Americans than the originals were. Big Mama Thornton had the originals hit on Hound Dog. And in that genre, in that rhythm blues genre. But white America was not listening to that music.
Right.
So it wasn't Elvis's fault. It wasn't like he came in like a vulture, plucked this out,
Sure, no, it was very shrewd business people that knew that if they wanted to sell music, they had to hire a white singer who was tricking everyone into thinking that he was something else.
But that's just the way it was then.
Right.
You can't ignore history. You can't brush it aside. It's what things were like.
Well, and I think that's something that I'm constantly reminded of in so many different arenas today, not just this movie, but everywhere, that it's the conversation that's important. It's the fact that we have to acknowledge that this is something that happened, that Elvis was the one who was chosen and who was popular, but he was inspired by other people. It's those other people that deserve a moment.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's why it can be such an exhausting time with so much conflict right now, but ultimately it's going to be better.
And now listen, this is a movie, talk about conversation. This is a movie that will instill and inspire conversation.
I think so.
What does Elvis mean today? What does it mean? What does the American dream mean today? That's a loaded question, and I think this is a really provocative film.
Now
What's your letter
and
grade?
of course, it's politically weighed.
Yes, well, that's for
you know,
sure.
in one direction.
Yeah, I wonder which
And-
direction that is.
Yeah, and people who don't know that going in should probably know that.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, it's an. Can I just blurt it out and say it's an anti-Trump movie?
For sure.
And it.
Well, Alec Baldwin is in the film.
Yes. You know, if that upsets you, if that rubs you the wrong way,
Then see it.
I would say choose to see it knowing that.
Yes,
Right, and so
absolutely.
we can talk about it because I
Yeah.
mean that's at the end of the day, it's so challenging to wade through these waters of conflict. But it's like, but that's the only way we get through anything.
Yeah. Exactly.
I thought it was absolutely riveted. I was riveted by this movie. What's your letter grade?
I would give it a B.
A B?
Good intentions, some really interesting stuff, but I thought it was pushing too hard.
Okay.
So some of the ideas worked, some of them didn't for me.
How about you, Grae?
Yeah, I'm gonna say solid B.
Okay.
Because wow, what a great genesis of an idea, that car, man. Great.
Yeah, really. I mean, and I'm going to give it a B plus, just because while I did think that it does overreach, and I agree with you, Leonard, about it being uneven, it did make me think from start to finish and stay with me for quite some time, at least until I got to my car. Then I was like, let's eat.
How far away was the car parked?
I saw it at Raleigh Studios. So I was in the parking lot across the street.
Okay.
Oh, pretty far.
That is a long walk.
That's a fair walk.
That's a fair
sized
walk from the Fairbanks Theater to that parking lot.
Okay.
That takes ages. Okay, new on Blu-ray. If you love Aardman Studios animation, if you love Wallace and Gromit, if you love Shaun the Sheepdog, if you love what's the other one?
Shaun the
It's
Sheep.
just a sheep.
Shaun the Sheep
Don't
movie
make him a
and
sheepdog.
Chicken Run.
Yes.
Chicken Run from 2000. That's the big one. This is their latest. It's called Early Man. It's on Home Entertainment Blu-ray now. It's about a prehistoric tribesman named Doug who challenges the leader of invading bronze miners to a game of football, that's soccer here in the USA, to protect his people, save his tribe, and save his land. There's something special about Aardman. I know you are a big Aardman fan,
Huge
Leonard.
fan from
Huge.
the get-go, from the very time I saw a wonderful short that went on to win an Oscar called Creature Comforts. And if you haven't seen it, find it. It's great. And then, of course, Wallace and Gromit were introduced to us in another short.
Close shave.
And first a Grand Day Out.
Oh.
Or a Grand Day's Outing. I get that wrong. Sorry, folks.
Google it.
Those were the creation of a guy named Nick Park. And he is kind of the stalwart of Aardman. He's not the only one who works there, not the only one who makes good movies and TV commercials and TV specials and such. But this is his baby, Early Man. And if you're looking for belly laughs, go watch something else. And if you don't like subtle humor, low-key humor, not comedy, humor, watch something else. But if you have a taste for the kind of quirky, offbeat, and British
Very
sense
British.
of humor.
It's a very British
What I
film.
love about them, too, is they don't surrender their Britishness, even though they're going to release the film here.
Yeah.
This is so British,
Yeah, very much.
which I find very appealing.
Grae?
Not so appealing for me.
Let's hear it, Grae.
I thought that Early Man was basically the Cars of the Aardman Studio franchise.
For better or worse.
Worse,
Wow.
but contextually, Cars is a movie that has an audience. It just isn't their best movie,
Right.
And so, it's like yay, Lightning McQueen, says your small child, and that's valuable. But I thought that Early Man has all the charm of all the other Aardman stuff. That's why I love them, because it's so different. You can really feel that it comes from a different country, and I dig it. I just thought Early Man was like, it just didn't quite get there. It wasn't. It's such a creative topic because there really was a moment where the Bronze Age, there was a line of demarcation almost between the cavemen and the Bronze
I can't
Age.
recall.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing.
I have to go back to my early diaries.
I agree that it's a little, the audience is a little more limited than maybe their past movies. It does feel very British. I don't think it's Aardman's best, but I was charmed. It is a delightful film.
Yeah.
But the humor is a little subtle. It's a chuckle kind of movie, not a belly laugh kind of movie.
And that just kind of, it just is like a
Yeah, but it has a heart.
What
It
was
has
that
a
sound
heart.
again? All right, just checking.
It has a heart. It's a very endearing. It's a delightful movie.
Endearing is a good word.
And also, in the age of all the computer animation, it's a great change of pace to see the stop motion that has made art
Again, which we're
so
seeing
beautiful.
more and more of these days as people turn back the clock to a technique that was invented in the earliest silent movie era. The Thomas Edison studio made stop motion. Georges Méliès with his trick films used stop motion. And that means just moving one finger or one digit of a finger at a time.
Unbelievable.
It's astonishing. I can't picture the hard work involved.
I think it took him like a day to film 4 seconds of action or something. Ridiculously patient testing, filmmaking prowess to do this type of movie.
I mean, Wes Anderson has fallen in love with it, and Isle of Dogs is his latest adventure
Fantastic Mr. Fox.
in stop motion animation.
Listen, I think it's a charming film. Again, it's not. It definitely feels like it embraces its Britishness in a very big way. And by the voice cast, I mean, you have Tom Hiddleston as the villain, Eddie Redmayne as Doug, the hero of the movie, and you can just tell that they're having a lovely time.
Yeah, and it has like a cool kind of feminist undertone to it that's not overpowering. It's very interesting. It's different from their other movies, but I still was like, womp womp, sad trombone.
Letter grade.
I'm gonna give it a C. I think this is an average movie for them. And I mean, but hooray for Aardman, hooray for Leica and all the studios keeping this alive. But
Leica's a great example. Leonard, your letter grade?
I'm giving it a B+.
Okay.
And acknowledging that it's not for everybody. It's not everybody's cup of chamomile. But I just enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too. I'm with you on the B+. And now finally, a movie that is streaming. It's on Amazon. You have to rent it. So even if you're on Prime, you do have to rent it. But it's worth it. This is the final movie of the late, great Harry Dean Stanton. It is called Lucky. It's directed by John Carroll Lynch. He's been in like more than 100 movies as an actor. You know, he was in Fargo, The Founder, Volcano, Gran Torino, Zodiac. This is his directorial debut, and it is a very confident, assured directorial debut. He plays, Harry Dean Stanton plays a 90-year-old atheist who is facing the end of his life, facing his mortality, and he makes a last-ditch attempt for spiritual enlightenment. Did I get that right?
I
pretty
think
good.
so.
I think that's
That's a pretty good plot line, right?
Yeah.
I saw this at South by Southwest more than a year ago, and I mean, Harry Dean Stanton, he's a legend, and how many actors get to cap their life and career with a movie that caps their life and career like this?
It's a valedictory movie for Harry Dean Stanton, and it was written for him by his longtime assistant and a partner. So everything is geared to make it work for Harry Dean, and his demeanor, you know, his way of speaking, the presence that he brings to every scene, and apparently they cast it out of Harry Dean's Rolodex. A Rolodex is look it up, kids. It was before Outlook. It's all of his,
and it works
all of
better
his pals,
too,
and all people who admire Harry Dean. And there's a performance in this by David Lynch.
David
Amazing.
Lynch? What?
Yes, that David
Yes,
Lynch.
that David
the same
Lynch.
That
one in the
is
same.
just off the charts.
Don't mess with his tortoise. Don't mess with Roosevelt.
I've always dreamed of walking into a bar in like dusty Texas and seeing David Lynch in there, and this movie brought that to life.
I walked into Dupar's in Studio City years ago and saw David Lynch.
Close enough.
That's second best.
Yes.
That's
Well,
incredible.
And said to him, I should have figured you for a Dupar's. Dupar's is an L.A.
It's a diner, you know.
Diner, coffee shop type of.
Best pancake.
Yes. Anyway, I should have figured you for a Dupar's kind of guy. He said, oh, of course.
Well, I
It's
love
Americana. He loves
That's
Americana.
right.
James Darren is in this movie.
Yeah.
James Darren. I love, and I'm like, what's the James Darren connection? Then I see that the movie was produced by Ira Stephen Bear, who produced Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Aha.
And James Darren had a recurring role of sorts on Star Trek Deep Space Nine. But he's great in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And David Lynch and it's a really profound
Tom
movie.
Skerritt.
Yeah,
Tom Skerritt.
These are all faces
from
you know.
Alien. Yeah.
And
all
the-
faces you know.
It's shocking that someone like John Carroll Lynch has never directed a movie before.
Exactly.
But he has absolutely taken notes from all these amazing auteurs that he's worked with, and I could imagine that pairing him with somebody like Harry Dean Stanton is what made this magic happen, because I don't suspect that you ever tell Harry Dean Stanton what he needs to do.
Yeah.
Because I think he just inherently understands what to do, and that's what seems to be in every frame of the movie. Like, he just gets this, and the fact that it was written by an assistant who obviously knew him very well makes even more sense.
Yeah, I have to say in English without tripping on my tongue that I love this film on sight. We saw it in Austin also.
Oh, yeah.
My daughter and I saw it, fell in love with it, and then I was fortunate enough to be able to bring it to my class at USC. Now, my class is about 300 students. Not all of them film majors, but they're all 20-somethings. Now, by and large, they don't know Harry Dean Stanton.
Good point.
They don't have a history with Harry Dean Stanton or most of the other actors who were in this film. They loved it.
Oh, good. That's
it
great
touched
to know.
them.
Nice.
Right.
It got through to them, and I found that very encouraging.
Well, the last scene, no spoiler, but the very last scene of the film will just get you right here. It'll just get you right here. And listen, this is another film that it is a diamond in the rough. It's hiding in plain sight. It's right there on Amazon. It is worth the price to rent. Watch it from home. It will absorb you. It's a really profound movie. Letter grade?
A.
Fonzie will love this movie. Well, make sure you follow us all on Instagram and Twitter. What's your Twitter handle, friend?
Everywhere, I'm Grae Drake. That's Grae.
And you are?
At Leonard Maltin, and my partner in crime, Jesse, is at Jesse Maltin.
And your website is?
MaltinOnMovies.com.
And your website is?
RottenTomatoes.com.
Make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram at MovieMance. And please, please, please do your due diligence as a movie fan. And please share Movie Review Talk with everyone you know. And tell them to share it. And please comment below on YouTube. And be nice. I really appreciate the nice thoughts. No trolls here on Collider Movie Review Talk. But before we go, Leonard Maltin made a very recent announcement that I thought was absolutely fantastic and fitting and needed. And I would love it, Leonard, if you would share your announcement with us right now.
Well, I made it in partnership with my daughter, Jessie, who is my webmaster and line producer and all of those things. And she decided that given the kind of statements that have come out and speeches that have been made and rumblings that we've all heard about old white dudes being the only ones who review movies, which is not entirely true, at least
Close.
gender-based. But anyway, no, but which is largely true.
Yeah.
In the few outlets left that still hire film critics at all.
Tell us about it.
Yes. We decided we should give a helping hand to not necessarily young, but we're calling it new voices. We want to be a conduit to an audience. I have something of a following, and so if we can house or act as a home base for people who want badly to write about movies and don't have a place to do it or don't have an audience yet, a constituency, maybe we can help them build one. And that's what it's called, New Voices. And I think our email is maltinonmovies@gmail.com, maltinonmovies@gmail.com, and you can write and send a finished piece. I don't want to read your portfolio. I don't want to see everything else you've done in the past. Send a piece that's worth publishing now, and we'll do our best. We can't accommodate everybody, but we're going to go through them, look at the best ones, and even ones that are provocative. We don't have to agree with the sentiments there, so long as they're well expressed. And as you just said, be respectful.
be respectful.
You know.
Right.
You cannot like a film but still be respectful of the fact that somebody made a movie.
Yes,
you know?
exactly.
Stay classy, San Diego.
Well, listen, absolutely. And besides, everybody's a critic, and they should have a voice. And that's great that you were giving critics of all shapes and sizes.
We posted our first 4 this week.
Well, bravo, congrats, and thank you so much for being here. And please join us next time on Collider Movie Review Talk, where we look ahead to the second half of 2018, the must-see movies for the second half of 2018. Wow, time does fly. Plus, the return of the Ant-Man, and this time he's bringing the Wasp. Until then, here's looking at you, kid.
Hey everybody, Mark Ellis here. Thanks for watching this episode. You want to watch more? Then click up here, or you can click right here for more great content from Collider. If you haven't subscribed to Collider Video, do so right now and share this vid with your friends. Thanks for watching.